The frozen princess. The snow was falling hard. The wind howled like a dying animal, and the sky was dark even though it was daytime. The planet was cold. Too cold for any human to survive without help. But Even was not just any human. He was a survivor. His small ship had crashed 2 days ago. He had built a shelter using broken parts and wrapped himself in thermal blankets. Food was running low. The cold bit through his clothes, and sleep came slowly. But he was alive. He walked through the snow with heavy steps, looking for fuel, food, or anything useful. His scanner beeped once, then again. There was something out there. At first, he thought it was a trick, a rock, a broken machine. But when he got closer, his eyes widened. It was a body, not human. She was lying in the snow, half covered by ice and white powder. Her skin was light blue. Her hair was silver and long, stuck with frost. She wore something that looked like royal armor, now cracked and dirty. A small broken crown was frozen to her head. Even knelt beside her. She was still breathing. Barely. Her lips moved. He leaned closer. She whispered, "Don't let them find me." Then her eyes rolled back, and she passed out. Even looked around. There were no footprints, no signs of others, only the wind and silence. He didn't know who she was, but something told him she was important. And in this cold, she would die within minutes. He picked her up. She was light. Too light, like someone who hadn't eaten in days. Her skin was ice cold. He carried her back to his shelter, heart beating fast. As he walked, he kept looking at the sky. The storm was thick, but something above the clouds made him uneasy. A strange hum. Faint lights. Something was watching. Inside the small shelter, the heat was weak, but better than the storm outside. Even laid her on the floor and wrapped her in his last thermal blanket. He started a small fire using broken wires and a battery. She didn't wake up. He checked her pulse, slow but steady. Then he looked at her armor again. It was covered in strange writing. He tapped his translator. Royal Guard of House Villari. That meant nothing to Even, but one word stood out. Villari. That was her name. Or was it her family name? Suddenly, the fire cracked. She moved. Her eyes opened, bright, silver, glowing softly. She stared at Even. "You are human," she said weakly. "Yeah," Even replied. "You're lucky I found you." She looked around the small shelter. Then her eyes filled with fear. "No, no, they will come." They saw the signal. "You must leave me." "Too late," Even said. "I already saved you." She tried to sit up but cried out in pain. Even stopped her gently. "You need rest," he said. "And heat." "I can't stay here," she said. "They'll track me." "Who?" "My own people. I was a queen. Now I'm a traitor." Even didn't speak. He just looked at her. Her face was strong but tired. Her eyes held deep pain. "I lost my husband," she said. "He was killed. They said I did it." "Did you?" She closed her eyes. "No." Even nodded. He didn't know her story. But he had seen enough lies in his life to know truth when he heard it. "You saved me," she whispered. "I couldn't leave you in the snow." She looked at him again. This time, softer. "Humans are strange." Even chuckled. "You don't know the half of it." Then a sound came from outside. A high-pitched whine. Even grabbed his old plasma rifle. His eyes narrowed. "Stay down," he said. He stepped out of the shelter and looked into the white wind. At first, there was nothing. Then, shadows. 3 figures in black armor, moving slow but steady. They carried energy spears. One of them spoke, voice cold and sharp. "Give us the traitor, human. You have no place in this war." Even didn't move. He pointed his rifle. "She's under my protection now." The lead hunter tilted his head. "Then you will freeze. With her." Hunted. The wind howled louder now. Snow slammed against the shelter like 1,000 fists. But inside, the fire flickered quietly. Warmth hugged the tiny space. The alien princess, Vilari, lay wrapped in blankets, her breathing slow and shaky. Even didn't blink. He stood at the door, frozen, not from the cold, but from the weight of the decision before him. Outside stood 3 armored shadows. They weren't human. Their armor was dark like the night sky, and their faces were hidden behind glowing masks. They held long energy spears that hummed with deadly power. One of them had spoken. "Give us the traitor, human. You have no place in this war." Even didn't lower his rifle. He wasn't a soldier anymore. He wasn't even supposed to be on this planet. His crash was an accident, and everything that had happened since then felt like a dream. But this moment felt real. Too real. "I'm not part of your war," Even said, voice steady. "But I don't hand people over to die." The lead figure stepped forward. Snow shifted under its boots like frightened insects. "You protect a liar, a killer. She brought death to her own people. She does not deserve your kindness." Even shook his head. "I don't know who she is, but I know she was freezing to death when I found her. That's all I need to know." Silence. Then the lead hunter raised his hand. "Very well." With a sharp movement, all 3 attackers vanished into the white snowstorm, silent, like ghosts swallowed by the wind. Even didn't lower his weapon. He waited. 5 seconds. 10. Then he heard a whisper behind him. "They won't leave." Vilari had woken up. Her voice was weak, but her eyes were sharp. "They hunt by heat and motion. They're circling now, waiting." Even looked back at her. "You seem to know them well." She nodded slowly. "They were my guards once." Now, Even finally let out a breath. "What the hell did you do?" Vilari closed her eyes. "I lived." That wasn't the answer he expected. She sat up slowly, pain on her face, but strength in her spine. "I was married to Prince Kale of the Frost House. After his death, I was blamed. Not just blamed. Condemned. My crown was stripped. My guards were told I betrayed the Empire. The same men who once swore to protect me now hunt me." Even frowned. "But why would they turn so fast?" "Just a rumor." Vilari reached into her broken armor and pulled out a small glowing crystal. "No," she said, "because I took this." It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. "This holds the last memories of my husband," she whispered, "and the proof that he was murdered, not by me, but by someone in the Royal Council." Even stared at the crystal. "So they're covering it up." She nodded. "If this truth reaches the Empire, it will destroy everything. It will start a civil war." He leaned closer. "Why not destroy it then? Why keep running?" She looked at him with eyes like fire under snow. "Because truth matters." Even sat down beside her. For a moment, the storm outside felt quiet. "I came here looking for fuel," he said. "Now I'm in the middle of a royal conspiracy." She smiled weakly. "You still have a chance to walk away." "No," Even said. "I don't." He stood up and checked his gear. "They'll come back. And next time, they won't knock." Valeri's eyes narrowed. "We can't fight them in the open. Their armor reflects energy. They're faster than they look." "Then we don't fight them in the open," Even said. "We fight them in the dark." That night, the shelter became a trap. Even used everything he had: broken wires, sharp metal, leftover batteries. He rigged up trip alarms and small energy bursts. The snow outside was shaped into a narrow path leading straight into a kill zone. Vilari helped, even though she was weak. She showed him how their armor systems worked, where the weak points were. Together, they prepared for war. As the hours passed, they spoke more. She told him about her home. Tall crystal towers under purple skies, where music was law, and the stars danced on command. He told her about Earth, about simple foods like pancakes and cold drinks on hot days, about the sound of laughter, about losing people too early. In the silence between words, they found something rare: peace. But peace never lasted. Just before dawn, the alarm pinged. Then silence. Even grabbed his weapon. Villari stood too, holding a small blade that glowed faintly. They waited. Footsteps, slow, careful, a flash of armor. Then chaos. A spear flew through the door, crackling with red light. Even ducked and rolled behind the wall. Villari slashed low at the first hunter who entered. Her blade cut sparks from his armor, but not enough to drop him. Even fired his rifle. The shot hit the second attacker in the leg, slowing him. The tripwire snapped. Boom! A blast of energy lit the room, throwing dust and snow into the air. Screams. Even kicked one of them into the fire pit. The other swung a blade that nearly cut his side. Blood flew. Even roared and smashed his rifle against the attacker's mask. Glass shattered. The hunter fell, unmoving. Only one left. Villari fought him outside, snow flying everywhere. The storm screamed around them. She moved like lightning, but he was faster. Then even tackled him from behind. Together, they ended it. Silence returned. Blood steamed on the snow. Even collapsed beside her, breathing hard. Villari looked at him, chest rising and falling. "You fight like a madman," she said. "I learned fast." She smiled. Then she held up the crystal. "We're not safe yet. This still needs to reach the stars." Even looked at the sky. The storm was fading, but far above, he saw blinking red lights. Ships. Tracking them. He stood up. "Then we better move." The secret she carries. Snow still covered the world, but the storm had passed. The sky was quiet, cold, and strangely blue. The silence after the fight felt heavier than the battle itself. 3 enemy bodies lay buried under broken snow and melted ice. The fire in the shelter was dying, but Even didn't care. His hands were shaking from pain, his shirt was ripped, and dried blood stuck to his arm. Villari stood beside him, her blade still red with energy. Her face was calm, but her eyes said everything. She had killed before. She knew what it cost. But this time, it felt different. "They won't stop," she whispered. Even didn't answer. He knew she was right. 3 were dead. More would come. He sat down on a metal crate and looked at the small crystal she still held close to her chest. It glowed softly, like a heartbeat in a bottle. "What's really inside that thing?" he asked, finally. Villari sat across from him, folding her hands slowly, as if the truth was something she had locked away for too long. "You saw part of it already," she said. "This crystal, it holds my husband's last memories. But that's not all." She touched the smooth surface, and the crystal responded, floating just above her palm. "There's a message hidden in here, one that was never meant to be heard. Cale, my husband, recorded it right before he died. He discovered something terrible, a secret that would destroy the High Council of Frost." Even frowned. "Destroy how?" Villari took a breath. "The war with humans, the one they blamed you for. The one that burned planets and shattered cities. It wasn't started by accident. It wasn't a misunderstanding." Even's eyes narrowed. "You mean?" "It was planned. On purpose," she said. "Cale found out. He discovered that a few powerful leaders wanted more control. They wanted fear, and nothing spreads fear faster than war with a new species." Even stood, anger rising in his chest. "We lost thousands. Civilians, soldiers, and you're saying it was all fake?" She nodded. "I begged him to tell the world, to send the message to the stars. But before he could, they killed him, and made it look like I did it." Even looked away, hands clenched. "You're telling me everything I ever fought for, everything I lost, was because of a lie?" Villari didn't speak. She didn't have to. The snow outside had stopped falling, but inside the shelter, a storm had just started. An hour later, they began moving. They couldn't stay in one place for long. Not now. The enemy knew where they were. More hunters would be coming, and they wouldn't stop until the crystal was destroyed, or Villari was dead. They traveled through the snow-covered valley, following the edge of a frozen lake. The ice cracked under their boots, whispering danger with every step. Above, strange alien birds flew in circles, as if warning them. "Where are we going?" Even asked. Villari pointed to a jagged mountain in the distance. "There's an old human outpost inside that peak. One of your first settlements. It's broken now, but it has a comm dish. If we can power it up, we can send the message." Even raised an eyebrow. "You sure? That tech's over 50 years old." "I'm sure. My people abandoned this region long ago. It's our best chance." They walked for hours, each step slow and careful. Even's body hurt, but he didn't stop. Villari was strong, but even she stumbled once or twice from the cold. Still, they moved forward. They had to. By nightfall, they reached the edge of the mountain. The entrance to the outpost was hidden behind a thick wall of ice and rock. Villari placed her hand on a scanner buried beneath the frost. The panel lit up faintly. Even helped her clear the way. Together, they broke through the ice and climbed into a long-forgotten tunnel. Inside, the air was warmer. The walls were rusted, covered in moss and dust. Old human posters still hung on the walls. One of them showed Earth, with a smiling soldier holding a flag. The words below were faded. "Hope beyond the stars." Even touched it, then shook his head. That hope died a long time ago. Villari looked at him. "Maybe not," she said quietly. "Not if we finish what we started." They followed the dark hallway until they reached the central control room. Dust covered everything. Terminals, screens, broken chairs. But the satellite dish outside still stood tall, its long metal arms reaching toward the sky. "I'll start the reactor," Even said. He moved toward the back while Villari set up the crystal near the main console. Her hands moved fast, confident. She wasn't just a princess. She was trained and determined. After a few minutes, the lights blinked on, flickering, but alive. Even returned, sweat on his forehead. "That old generator still has some fight in it." Villari smiled. "Then so do we." She pressed a few buttons on the console, and the crystal began to hum. A soft voice came through the speakers. "If you are hearing this, I am already dead. My name is Kel of House Villari." Even listened in silence. It was real. The truth. The confession. All of it. The memory ended with a simple phrase. "My wife carries this message. Protect her, or all is lost." Villari didn't cry. She didn't speak. But her hand shook as she hit the transmit button. The screen blinked. Signal. Searching. Searching. Signal locked. Transmitting. A smile crossed her lips. Then the screen went black. Error. Sgnl jammed. Unknown SORC. Even jumped to the window. In the sky, 5 ships were descending fast. Enemy ships. They tracked the signal, he growled. Villari grabbed the crystal and held it close. "We were too slow." Even turned to her, eyes burning with fire. "No, we still have the message, and I know one last place to send it from." She looked at him. "Where?" He pointed to the highest peak in the region. "That mountain has a military relay. Deep tech, old, but powerful. I passed it during recon. It still stands." Villari nodded. "Then we go." They didn't waste time. The enemy was coming, and the secret she carried was still waiting to be heard. The beast of ice caverns. The cold returned, stronger than before. Not the soft snow from earlier, but a deeper cold. A quiet cold. The kind that got into your bones and whispered that you wouldn't make it this time. Even felt it. Valeri felt it too, though she didn't speak of it. They moved fast, leaving the ruined outpost behind. The enemy ships were still searching the valley below. They had no time to rest. No time to plan. Only time to run. But not blindly. There was one place left. One final chance. A place Even had only seen from a distance. A tall mountain wrapped in clouds. Somewhere near the top was an ancient human relay tower, still standing after decades. If they could reach it, the crystal's message might finally be sent. But to get there, they had to go through the ice caverns. Valeri stopped outside the entrance, her breath turning to mist. "This place is cursed," she whispered. Even raised an eyebrow. "That's comforting." She didn't smile. "My people call it the Maw of Snow. Ships vanish near here. Scouts disappear. No one who enters stays sane, if they return at all." Even stepped forward, brushing frost off an old human sign near the cave wall. It read, "Caution, thermal collapse zone. Proceed at your own risk." He looked at her. "That sounds about right." They entered. Inside the cavern, the walls shimmered with frozen crystals, some the size of trees. The air was warmer than outside, but it felt heavier, like something was watching. Their footsteps echoed strangely, as if the ice were whispering behind them. "Keep your weapon ready," Valeri said softly. Even already had it in his hand. They walked for almost an hour through twisting tunnels of blue and white. Sometimes, the ice looked like faces. Other times, it pulsed with strange light. The deeper they went, the less natural it felt, until they reached the heart of the cavern. There, beneath a tall ceiling of frozen stone, sat a glowing pool of water. At its center was a platform of ice, and resting atop that platform was a power core. Not just any core. A titanium X generator, a rare human power source strong enough to activate the relay on the mountain. Valeri's eyes widened. "That's it. We can use it." Even nodded slowly. "Too easy." She turned to him. "What do you mean?" He raised his rifle and pointed at the shadows behind the pool. The ice shifted. Then something moved. A massive claw scraped across the wall. A deep growl echoed through the cavern. From the darkness stepped a beast, 8 feet tall, covered in sharp white fur, its eyes glowing like cold fire. Its mouth was lined with frozen teeth, and steam rose from its body. It was not a creature of this world. It was older, angrier, and hungry. Valeri gasped. "It's real." "What is it?" Even asked, already backing away. She didn't answer. The beast roared, and the entire cave shook. Even fired. The blast hit its shoulder, but the creature didn't even flinch. It rushed forward with terrifying speed. Even dove to the side, barely avoiding a crushing blow from its claws. Valeri pulled a crystal blade and slashed at its leg. The beast roared again, turning toward her. They fought together. Not as strangers now, but as something closer. As survivors. Even kept firing, aiming for the joints. Valeri danced between the monster's swipes, her blade glowing bright. But the creature was strong. Too strong. One swipe knocked Even across the floor. He hit the wall hard, his vision spinning. Valeri screamed. The beast pinned her down. Even tried to stand, but pain shot through his leg. He couldn't move fast enough. Valeri struggled, her blade arm shaking. The beast opened its mouth, ready to bite. And then, Even threw his plasma back, right into the beast's mouth. Boom! The explosion lit the entire cavern. Ice cracked. Steam poured out. The beast screamed and fell backward, crashing through a frozen wall. The ground shook violently. The cave was collapsing. "Grab the core," Even shouted. Valeri ran to the platform, pulled the power core free, and sprinted back just as a large piece of ice crushed the spot she had stood seconds ago. Even limped forward, arm around her shoulder. Together, they escaped the falling cavern, dodging rocks and frozen debris. Behind them, the beast didn't move again. It was gone, but not forgotten. Outside, night had fallen. The stars above looked cold and distant. They collapsed behind a boulder near the mountain trail, hearts racing. Evan's leg was badly bruised. Valerie had a cut across her side, but it wasn't deep. She patched it quickly. Then they sat in silence. The power core sat between them, still glowing. Valerie looked at Evan. Her eyes were softer now, tired but open. You didn't have to come into that cave. He shrugged. You didn't have to fight that thing. You risked your life. So did you. She reached out and touched his hand, just for a moment. Thank you, she whispered. Evan didn't answer right away. He looked at her, the silver hair, the sharp eyes, the way her strength covered deep pain. You're not like I expected, he said finally. Alien. No. Royal. She laughed. A real laugh this time. Then she looked at the mountain. It's not far now. We climb at first light. Evan nodded. But no more ice monsters, okay? Valerie smiled. No promises. That night, they took turns sleeping. One kept watch while the other rested. But even when it was her turn to sleep, Valerie didn't move far from him. And when Evan finally closed his eyes, her hand was still wrapped around his. In the frozen wild, with death behind them and danger ahead, two lives had become something more. Not lovers. Not yet. But something rare. Trust. Stand or run. The sun rose like a knife through the cold sky. Sharp and distant, it painted the snow-covered peaks in gold, but gave no warmth. The air was thin, the wind restless. Clouds moved below them now. They were high, near the top of the mountain. One step closer to the relay tower. But time was running out. Evan could feel it in the pit of his stomach. Valerie walked beside him, the power core strapped to her back, wrapped in layers of cloth. Her body moved stiffly, tired from the battle, the cold, and the weight of being hunted day after day. Still, she didn't complain. Neither of them did. The cave beast was behind them, but something worse was coming. Valerie was the first to spot it. She froze, then pointed to the sky. 3 ships, sleek, black, silent. They flew low and fast, scanning the mountain pass. The lead ship turned toward the direction of the caverns. They were following the trail of the explosion. They're tracking us, Valerie said. Evan tightened his grip on his rifle. How long until they reached the relay tower? She squinted at the sky. Maybe 30 minutes. Maybe less. Evan looked up at the path ahead. The relay tower stood like a skeleton near the summit, rusted, broken, and tall. Its large dish pointed at the stars like a desperate hand reaching for help. But it was far. Too far. And the trail was narrow. Icy. One wrong step could send them falling into the endless white. We won't make it before they land, Evan said quietly. Valerie didn't answer. He looked at her. We need a plan. She turned to him, face calm but unreadable. I'll go alone, she said. Evan blinked. What? You stay here, she continued. Hide in the rocks. If they catch me, they'll think I'm alone. You can sneak into the tower later and send the message. No, he said quickly. That's not happening. You'll have a better chance if I distract them. I'm not letting you be bait. Valerie stepped closer, voice firm now. If we both fight, we die. If I run and they chase me, you might live. You might finish the mission. He stared at her, the woman who had once been a princess, a widow, a hunted ghost. Now she was willing to die again. Don't do this, he said. Valerie looked at him. Her eyes were tired, but not weak. Even. I'm already dead to them. His voice broke slightly. Not to me. She didn't move for a long time. Then her hand slowly reached up and touched his face. You've already given me more than anyone else has, You believed me. You protected me. I won't let you die because of me." He caught her hand and held it tightly. "You're not going alone." "Then what?" she asked. "Fight them all." Evan's eyes drifted to a ridge above the trail. Snow-covered, narrow, but wide enough to stand on. "We don't fight them head-on," he said. "We fight smart." She followed his gaze. "An ambush." He nodded. "They'll have to walk this path to reach the tower. We can trap the ridge, use the rocks, drop them before they reach us." Valerie looked at the ridge, then back at him. "And if we fail?" Evan gave a half smile. "Then at least we fail together." The next 20 minutes were spent setting up traps. They moved quickly, placing old landmines Evan had salvaged from the caverns, tying ropes across weak ice patches, and stacking loose rocks high above the trail. It wasn't much, but it might be enough. They hid behind a small outcrop of stone, high above the main path. Valerie gripped her crystal blade. Evan checked his rifle again. And then, they waited. The ships arrived with a roar, but didn't land nearby. Instead, they hovered and dropped 5 armored soldiers onto the snow. Black armor, long spears, the same kind of hunters from before. One of them walked with a different kind of posture, straighter, commanding. Valerie sucked in a breath. "That's Lord Saren." "Who?" "The one who gave the order to kill my husband." Evan looked through the scope of his rifle. "He's mine." They waited until the squad reached the narrowest part of the trail. The first trap went off. A mine exploded under one of the soldiers, sending him flying off the mountain. The others took cover, raising their shields. Then Evan opened fire. Valerie leaped from the ridge, landing in the snow with a hard thud. Her blade flashed. One enemy fell, then another. Evan rolled rocks down from above, forcing the others back. But Saren didn't run. He stood in the center of the chaos, lifting a strange device in his hand. A sound blasted through the air, a scream that wasn't made by anything human. Valerie staggered. Evan dropped his rifle, grabbing his head. Pain. Then silence. Saren spoke. "You've run far enough, widow." Valerie stood, sword shaking in her hand. "I carry your truth," she said, "and I will bury your lies." They fought, her blade against his spear, alien against alien. But he was stronger. She fell to her knees. Evan aimed his last shot and fired. The plasma bolt hit Saren in the chest. His armor cracked, and he fell backward into the snow. Valerie gasped for air. It was over. For now. They didn't wait. Together, they ran to the top of the mountain. Blood stained the snow behind them. The relay tower groaned in the wind. Wires snapped and antennas buzzed with static. Evan slammed the power core into the console. The lights flickered. Then, signal. Searching. Connecting. Valerie placed the crystal into the port. Kel's voice returned. "If you are hearing this, I am already dead. But my voice lives. And so does the truth." The message was sent. Out into the stars. To every listening ear. Every screen. Every city. It was done. Valerie collapsed beside Evan. Not from pain. From peace. For the first time in weeks, she closed her eyes and let out a breath that didn't carry fear. Evan sat beside her. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They had done the impossible. But as they watched the sky, something else appeared. A flicker. A beacon. A response. And it wasn't friendly. The last message. The stars were silent for a moment. Just one heartbeat. Then, they came alive. Valerie and Evan stood at the edge of the mountain summit, eyes fixed on the sky. The crystal's message had gone out. It was done. The truth was flying across the stars, faster than light, reaching every corner of the Frost Empire and beyond. But it also lit a beacon. And someone answered. From the clouds above, the flickering shape of a ship emerged. larger than any they had seen before, black like smoke, quiet like death. Even stepped in front of Villari, rifle raised. The ship didn't fire. It hovered, humming with quiet menace. Then a voice echoed from the relay tower speakers. Cold, calm, cruel. This is High Executor Vethar. You have committed treason against the Frost Empire. Surrender now, or be erased. Villari's blood turned cold. Vethar, the Council's blade, the one who finished what Siren started, even looked at her. Can your people hear the message? She nodded. Yes, but they don't control the skies. Vethar does. The voice returned. The message will not reach the people. We've already jammed the repeaters. This was your last chance. Now you die. The ship began to power its weapons. Villari grabbed the crystal from the relay tower and turned to Even. Her eyes were shaking, but her hands were steady. I have an idea, she said. Even frowned. Please don't say something suicidal. Listen, she said quickly. The core still has energy, enough to overload the tower and turn it into a massive pulse. If I stay, I can direct the signal to cut through the jamming and send one last full-strength message across every frequency. After that, you'll die, Even said, his voice rising. You'll burn with it. She didn't argue. He stepped back, shaking his head. There's gotta be another way. There isn't. Villari. She placed her hand on his chest. You're the first person who looked at me and didn't see a crown or a weapon. You saw a person, a broken one, but still human in your own way. He caught her hand, voice low. And you're telling me to walk away now. I'm telling you to live, she said, voice almost breaking. You don't belong in this war. Go, before they land. I'm not leaving you. Even. No. She looked at him then, long and deep. Then, without a word, she leaned forward and kissed his cheek. Soft. Final. She stepped back toward the console. But Even was already moving. He grabbed the backup battery from his belt and slammed it into the tower's override panel. The system blinked. Villari turned. What are you doing? Sharing the risk, he said. Let's fry it together. The ship above charged its cannons. Inside the tower, sparks flew. Villari and Even worked fast, hands moving over the cracked screen and tangled wires. The crystal was locked into the core port, glowing bright white now, hotter than ever before. Overload sequence initiated, the console said in a robotic voice. Explosion likely in 90 seconds. Villari looked at Even. The signal will go out, but we won't survive. Even smiled. I told you, I learned fast. The console screamed. The energy built up. And then, the ship above fired. A blinding beam of blue light crashed into the relay tower, tearing through its upper dish. Metal flew. Fire poured from the sides. But the tower didn't fall. Instead, it roared. A shockwave burst from the core, racing outward in every direction. It cracked the ice. It shattered the clouds. It reached the heavens. A scream of truth, loud enough for the stars to hear. Far across the empire, hundreds of stations picked up the message. People gathered in silence as Cal's voice played. Truth wrapped in pain. Memory wrapped in fire. The lie was broken. And the people wept. Back on the mountain, the relay tower collapsed in flames. Smoke filled the air. Ash fell like snow. Silence returned. For a long time, nothing moved. Then, rubble shifted. A hand reached out. Even pulled himself free, coughing hard, skin burned, uniform torn. Blood streaked his face, but his eyes were alive. He crawled toward the ruins. Villari. No answer. Vellari. He dug with bare hands, rocks slicing his skin. Smoke burned his lungs. Then, he saw silver. Hair. A face. Still. He grabbed her and pulled her out. Her body was cold. Lifeless. He dropped to his knees beside her. No, 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 no. He pressed his forehead to hers. Please, I need you to breathe. No answer. Then, he felt it. A spark. A heartbeat. She gasped. Her eyes opened. He laughed, broken and wild. You idiot, he whispered, voice cracked. You almost didn't make it. Her voice was dry. Weak. You said, we share the risk. He pulled her into a shaky hug, snow falling softly around them. In the fire and ash, they had survived. Together. Hours later, ships appeared in the distance, but not enemy ones. These flew with the symbol of the Free Frost House. Rebels. Loyalists. Truth-seekers. They had heard the message. They had chosen sides. Villari stood on the edge of the cliff, leaning on Ivan's shoulder. They're coming for you, he said, to crown you or to kill you again. She smiled. Let them come. This time, I'm not alone. A new dawn. The sun rose slowly over the shattered tower. It was the first warm sunrise in days. Smoke still rose from the mountain's peak. The ruins of the relay tower smoldered, but the storm had passed. Snow fell gently now, like the world was trying to heal itself. Villari sat on a rock near the edge of the cliff. Her silver hair was tangled. Her armor was cracked. But her back was straight, her eyes steady. Beside her, Ivan leaned on his rifle like a walking stick. His face was bruised, bandages wrapped around his leg and shoulder. But he was alive. So was she. And now, the whole empire knew the truth. Down in the valley below, ships began to land. They came quietly, in peaceful formation, marked with the blue sigil of the Free Frost House. These weren't hunters. They were messengers, officers, leaders, soldiers who had once followed a lie, now arriving to meet the woman who had torn it apart. Villari stood slowly as a group approached. The one in front was a tall alien woman in shining white robes, a silver chain across her chest. She knelt on one knee, head bowed. Villari of House Flame, she said, voice trembling, the Empire owes you more than words can offer. Villari didn't move at first. Then, and my husband. The woman raised her head. His name is being restored. His death is no longer your burden. His message has brought light to us all. Villari's eyes shimmered, but no tears fell. She had shed them all already. Ivan stood quietly beside her. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. He had walked through fire with her, fought beside her, blood beside her. Now, the galaxy was bowing, and he simply watched. The leader continued, "We come with 2 requests." Villari raised an eyebrow. "First, we ask you to return, to lead. The throne is empty. The council has crumbled. The people look to you." Villari said nothing. She glanced at Ivan, just for a second, then turned back. And the second, the leader hesitated. The human, the one who fought by your side. Some believe he should not leave this world alive, that he knows too much. Ivan tensed. He had expected this. He reached for his weapon, slowly. But Villari stepped between him and the soldiers. Her voice was calm, but cold. "If one hand is raised against him, I will walk away, forever." Silence. The leader blinked, surprised. Then slowly nodded. Understood. Villari turned back to Ivan. Her face softened. "You came here by accident," she said. "And yet, you changed everything." Ivan shrugged. "I just didn't like seeing someone freeze to death." She smiled, but her eyes were serious now. "The Empire is watching me again. I'll have power, enemies, responsibilities. I figured you could come with me," she said. "As an advisor." "Advisor?" He smirked. "To what? Royal dinner etiquette." She stepped closer. "No. As the one person I trust, the one who saw me at my worst and didn't run, even looked at the valley below. Ships, Banners, soldiers, all alien, all staring at her. He didn't belong here. But when he looked at her, he didn't feel lost anymore. "All right," he said slowly, "but only if I get a new jacket. This one smells like beast blood and fire." Valerie laughed, a real laugh this time. Then she held out her hand. He took it. 2 weeks later, the coronation took place on the capital world of Silvery Prime. Thousands gathered in the Crystal Hall. The throne room had been rebuilt, glass towers shining in every direction, glowing with light from the twin suns. Music filled the air, strange instruments that sang like wind and water. Valerie walked down the long aisle, her armor polished and repaired. A new crown rested on her head, smaller than the last, lighter, but stronger in meaning. As she stepped onto the royal platform, every voice fell silent. She stood in front of the throne, but did not sit. Instead, she turned to the crowd. "I do not sit on this throne today to rule," she said. "I sit to restore, to heal what was broken, to protect what was forgotten, to carry the truth forward." Applause echoed. But she raised her hand. "One more thing." She looked to the side, even stood near the edge of the crowd, wearing a sleek black coat over light armor. No medals, no title, just him. She nodded. He walked up the steps. Gasps filled the room. A human, on the royal platform. Valerie faced him. "By royal decree," she said, "this man is granted the rank of starvant, not a servant, not a soldier, but a bondmate of the royal house." Even blinked. "What exactly does that mean?" She smiled. "It means you stay." He nodded slowly. "Then I'll stay." And for the first time in Frost Empire history, a human stood beside the throne, not as a conqueror or prisoner, but as something more powerful. As family. Months passed. Reforms began. The war ended. Borders reopened. Families were reunited. Old lies were buried under new truth. Valerie ruled with grace and strength. And beside her, even became known as the outsider who stayed. Children in the capital played games where one pretended to be a snow beast and the other shouted, "Don't worry, I have human backup." Stories were told in both tongues, alien and human, about the man who found a widow in the snow and changed a world by simply not walking away. He never wanted power, never asked for glory. He just stayed. And that changed everything. One night, on a quiet balcony above the Crystal City, Even stood alone, watching the stars. Valerie walked up behind him, silent as snow. "You never told me what you lost before you crashed here," she said gently. He didn't turn. "My unit," he said. "My crew. We were shot down during the first wave of the war." "I'm sorry." "So was I." Silence. Then he turned to her. "But if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have found you." She smiled. They stood together, side by side, as a soft wind passed. And somewhere far above, across the stars, the last echo of Kel's message continued to play in the archives of every free system. "My wife carries the truth. If you hear this, protect her, or all is lost." Someone did, and everything was found again. The end.